Welcome to Sales is Not a Dirty Word, the show that proves if it's a fit, it's a fact. I'm your host, innovative sales coach Aleasha Bahr, the creator of the Black Sheep Sales Method. If you're a done-for-you service provider who's ready to sell differently than the mainstream status quo so you can grow your profits and impact without pressure, pitching, or pretending to be someone else, then this is for you. If you want to know more about the Black Sheep Sales Method, go to www.aleashabar.com. And this episode is with Stuart Morris. He's a crazy, plane-flying Brit who is writing the book, The One in a Million Life, that will be published in the summer as a companion to his entrepreneurship course for real people. After owning and selling many, many companies and currently still owning a few, he has a different approach to entrepreneurship that is so refreshing because it's not about getting rich quick. It's not about getting investors. It's not about losing your life or your quality of life to owning a business. I'm so excited to bring him to you, and he is most definitely a wonderful black sheep. So let's go. Welcome to the big show. Sales is not a dirty word.
And it really isn't. Thank you so much.
So excited to have you, Stuart. So I think to start, what inspired you to, after all of these times owning and selling businesses, obviously people own and sell businesses all the time and they don't start courses about them. So what inspired you to take this direction?
So in 2009, let's go back a long way, I took a job, a proper paid day job, teaching entrepreneurship at the Henley Business School at the University of Reading in the UK. It's one of the top 1% business schools in the world. And I was teaching entrepreneurship. And it was terrific fun. I traveled the world. I taught in Turkey, Hong Kong, Denmark, all sorts of interesting places. And hundreds of students from bachelor's level, master's level, PhD level about entrepreneurship. And I was involved in some research into what makes entrepreneurs tick and how their brains work differently from, in quotes, normal people. Mm-hmm. And through all of that, I started putting together my thoughts on how could you take somebody who has followed a traditional career path. They're now in midlife. They've become middle management in a big corporate, and they are dying inside. They've got a mortgage, they've got a spouse, they've got children, they've got car loans, they've got the life, but they're not living. They're dead inside because they're now no longer doing the stuff they enjoy. They're just mid-management, pushing paper around, reporting to a boss who doesn't care who they are, looking after employees who don't care who they are, for a company that doesn't care who they are, to make shareholders who they don't know richer. And they've got this dream, they've got this idea, I want to run my own business. So for the last decade, I've been tinkering with this course, trying out, testing, using it on myself, using it with friends, and trying to come up with a completely different way of doing it that's designed around the way adults learn, because that's very different to the way we did when we were in high school. That can be done whilst you've got a day job. So it starts as a side hustle, but then supports your lifestyle. You may need to, get rid of the brand new BMW and get a secondhand Volvo. It really doesn't matter. You're not going to notice after a week. And a few little changes like that, and you can save a lot of money every month. But it's about building a business, not one of those get rich quick, Amazon drop shipping or eBay arbitrage or flipping properties. The guys that are running those courses are making more money out of the people buying those courses than they are actually doing, than they ever did doing the thing. Mm-hmm. So this is a course for people who actually want not a get-rich-quick scheme, but a business that, that has some legacy to it, that they could leave to their children. And the difference between being self-employed, where, if you take a week off and you're self-employed, that's a week of zero income. Mm-hmm. If you take a week off when you have a business with staff running that business for you, you're getting paid whilst you're sitting on the beach, because the business is running. So it's about building a business, not a side hustle. It's about building something that has longevity. It isn't just a fad. Building a business that has a legacy, that has an impact on the world, and done in a way and taught in a way that you can actually do it, rather than that you have to be some kind of insane adrenaline junkie willing to risk everything, bet the farm. No, let's find a way of doing it that has a reasonable prospect of success. And if it isn't successful, you've still got the house. You can still look your spouse in the eye and say, it's okay, the kids have still got a roof over their heads, we're not going to lose the house, let's come at this from a different angle. And I think also, like you with the black sheep, I kind of wish I'd come up with that name. It's doing things differently. It's doing things in a way that most people won't, so that you can live the life that most people will only ever dream of.
Wow, Stuart, I really love that so much. So many things about that are appealing. I can only imagine that there are listeners right now who are either in a company or owning their own company who feel like from the outside, I look successful. So why on the inside, is there nothing I'm looking forward to? Or maybe I'm only looking forward to the weekends, or only looking forward to that 2-week vacation every year. And that's no way to live. And it sounds like you're kind of talking to that person who maybe doesn't have as high of a risk tolerance as that really crazy entrepreneur, but that doesn't make this dream impossible for them.
Yeah, and I think when we did research into how the brains of entrepreneurs work, we literally put people inside an MRI machine, asked them questions, and watched which bits of their brains lit up. And what you see is that the true entrepreneurs in the world are behaving much more like professional gambler. So if a professional gambler's idea
Seriously?
of it, yeah, I'm not talking the addict gambler, that's a whole different thing. The professional gambler says, okay, I'm going to Vegas for a week-long vacation. I love playing blackjack. I'm going to take $10,000, turn it into chips, and I'm going to play blackjack for a week. Now, if you turn up at Vegas with $10,000 to turn into chips, you're probably getting the hotel room for free. You'll get an awful lot of your meals for free, because the hotel are gambling that you're going to lose most of that. The professional gambler's view is, I am going to have $10,000 worth of fun. I hope that I won't lose all of it. I hope that I'll at least break even and perhaps make a profit. But I am prepared to spend that much money to have a week's worth of fun. Just like the 2-week vacation on the holiday, on the beach in Miami or whatever it is, you've spent a chunk of money and you're anticipating that much fun. The professional gambler says, I can afford to lose this money. I don't want to lose this money, but I can afford to. And even if I do lose it all, I've still had value from that. And it's a concept called affordable loss. So you risk what you can afford in a way that you're going to enjoy or learn or value. And if you get it right, you don't lose it. And if you get it wrong, you lose it, but you had fun doing it. You learned a lot doing it, and you can come around it next time. So you don't risk more than you can afford.
Yeah.
When we put military generals and captains of industry, the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies inside the MRI machine, and we ask them questions about risk, all of their behavior is about minimizing risk. Drive the risk to zero. And if you drive the risk to zero, your rewards become completely predictable. It is unlikely that you are going to have something spectacular come out of it. You're not going to lose much, but you probably won't gain much. And we can all identify the people, Steve Jobs, Richard Branson, these guys who have created gazelle businesses, the ones that have gone from nothing to $1 billion almost overnight. Facebook, a really good example. You cannot replicate those guys. And actually, those guys can't tell you what they did to get there, because all they did was have the right idea at the right time. You know, the sequence of coincidences that got them to that point is unreplicable.
Hmm.
So you cannot say, I'm going to create the next Facebook, because there are thousands of people trying to create the next Facebook, and they've all failed again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
You can build something unique. You can build something, you know, I've built a business that is the largest in the world in its niche by accident. I didn't think I was going to start this particular niche training business. In fact, I didn't want to. I kept telling people I'm not going to do it. No, okay, I'll let's run a couple of courses. And 6 years on, we are the biggest in the world in our niche. It's a tiny niche, so we're not a huge business, but it's fun. You know, the students are here. We got 16 students on this course for a whole week. Amazing conversations being had, lives being changed. My heart is full of the joy of what we're achieving. And that's a business I started by accident. So these things can happen, but the risk, I only put into it what I was prepared to lose.
Well, and I think you make a really good point there about it being fun. So Amazon drop shipping and these get rich quick schemes are not fun. They are really just for the money. And anytime you're doing that, the chances of success typically aren't going to be as high because you're not driven, you're not enjoying it. So the fact that you can do it in this way that is fulfilling and isn't like, although that sounds like there is a formula as far as like picking something with a good possibility for success and different things, measurements you want to look at to make that prediction. It's not formulaic in the way that it's just like, okay, build an Amazon dropshipping store and that'll work, which is very unique in the world of options people have when looking at like building a business. Even going to entrepreneur school, I didn't know they really even taught it, but I'm sure that they're just doing case studies on businesses all the time. Let's see what these people did. And to your point, it's like not about that business. It's about the series of factors that made it a good choice. And like, let's look at that for you. And you
Yeah.
are a different individual.
And I think the other thing about, you know, if you go and do an MBA, and a lot of people do MBAs as part of their professional development, especially people in midlife, and a lot of people these days, if they want to go into management, then it's almost required to do an MBA. And what you're taught is, you know, do your market research, have an idea. And I'm looking at it going, okay, I'm going to build a business. I'm going to spend a lot of time with my customers, because selling is all about the relationship with the customer. Be the person they want to buy from at the moment they decide they want to buy. So don't sell to me. Don't push. Don't be the double glazing salesman that keeps phoning every 10 minutes. You're like, off. Just go away. I do not want to talk to you. If you walk into a bar and say, hi, I sell double glazing, what's going to happen? You're going to get something thrown at you.
Mm.
If you go into the bar week after week after week because you like hanging out with that group of people, you become part of the community. And somebody says, I need double glazing fitted to my house. And somebody else will say, go ask Bill. That's what he does. Bill has become part of the community, and the customer, when he needed to buy it, came and asked him. So that's how I teach sales. I know it's subtly different from the way you do it, but your technique is kind of similar. Be the person they want to buy from when they're ready to buy. Be the right person in the right place with the right product. Selling is going to be about spending time with people. And if it's your business, if it's a startup business, you can have an idea. There are so many patents for people who have invented a better wheelbarrow. Actually, the wheelbarrow works really quite well the way we've all been buying them from Home Depot or wherever. You know, a new wheelbarrow isn't going to sell. So if you play golf and you like spending time with the people you play golf with, they have similar philosophical views, they have similar political views, they may have similar religious views. Those are the people you hang out with. Well, go hang out with them. Talk to them about their lives. They will tell you about the problems that they have, maybe playing golf, or maybe in their business, or maybe in their home life, or whatever it is. Talk to the people you would like to be your customers, find out what it is they are struggling with, and create a product to fix that, rather than sit down and try and come up with a product and then go find customers. And that's lesson 1 of the 1 in a million life.
Yes. And that, when we talked about that before the podcast, that was one of the things that got me so fired up, because it makes so much logical sense. And nobody is saying anything like that, to make it customer led instead of idea led. And the beautiful thing about it is that not only does somebody build a business and become successful doing something they enjoy, but it benefits somebody else because they're creating something that needs to be created. And like, now I feel like if I see one more app, like, I don't need another app. Stop making apps. You know, I feel like people just have these ideas and there's an ego attached to the idea, and they just die on the idea, whether it's something people need or not. And they do some market research, to your point, but what an easier way to go about it. Just being customer led from the get-go and having an open mind instead of your ego attached to an idea and kind of being biased in the market research that you do on your idea to some extent.
Yeah. I mean, if you go out and tell people, you know, I've come up with a new wheelbarrow, I've come up with a new, I don't know, wheelbarrow. I'm just going to stick with the wheelbarrow example. Would you buy a wheelbarrow that never got a flat tire? Yeah, of course I'd buy a wheelbarrow that never got a flat tire. Okay, it's going to cost you $5 more than the $10 wheelbarrow you can get from the local DIY store. Well, I want to spend $15 on it. I want to spend $10 on it. I'll cope with the flat tire. In fact, I'll probably throw it away and buy a new one. So, the market research is, yes, we'd buy it, but the reality is, no, they won't. Because when it comes to buying a wheelbarrow, they're just looking at the cheapest one because it's a commodity item. And you're never going to compete with a commodity product. There's always going to be somewhere with somebody with bigger scale. Let's go out for burger. Okay, so Aleasha and Stuart are thinking about going out for a burger. We have a choice. We can go to McDonald's. Was it 99 cents? Oh no, they went up. They're just above a buck now for a cheapest McDonald's burger. But what is it? A piece of meat, some compost, and 2 bits of bread and some sauce. Or we can go to a nice restaurant and we can have a burger. It's a piece of meat, some compost, 2 bits of bread.
What's a compost?
May arrive. Oh, compost. The salad and stuff that they put on it. That you don't eat, that's going to end up in the
compost. Okay, got it.
In the compost. Yeah. Sorry, that's what is a in joke with my friends and family. Just give me the burger. I don't want the bread. I don't want the lettuce. I just want the piece of meat. And we're going to spend, I don't know, $25 per burger. It's the same product. It's the same. It's a piece of meat between 2 pieces of bread with some salad and some sauce. The concept is the same. The price is 20 to 30 times more. We could go out into the market and sell a burger for 66 cents and go head to head with McDonald's. How do we think that our little burger company is going to compete with the marketing budget that McDonald's have, or the brand awareness that McDonald's have? We're never going to manage that. So do not go head to head with the mass market, because you're never going to win. You cannot do it. You can do it later when you've got brand awareness and when you've got budget and when all of these things. But right now, focus on the smart end of the business. these are just, these are snapshots from the course. Another example, what's the cheapest car you can buy? Actually, I don't know if a Skoda, a brand you have, car
No, we
brand
don't
in
have
this.
Skodas.
Okay, so Skoda is pretty much the cheapest car brand in the UK, and they're perfectly good vehicles. Then there's Seat, then there's Volkswagen, Audi, and then we carry on up. Actually, Lamborghini, the most expensive car in the world, is built by Bugatti. What do all of those brands have in common?
A big
They're
budget.
they're all part of the VW group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the cheapest car I can buy in the UK and the most expensive car I can buy in the UK are a Volkswagen. They have got all these different brands in their different niches. And in fact, the Skoda Octavia, Seat Leon, VW Golf, Audi TT, the two-seater sports, and the Skoda Octavia is a station wagon. They're the same car, same engine, same transmission, same chassis.
Just branding.
Just branding and different bodies. So pick your niche. Pick your niche, pick your price point, choose where you go, and then spread if that's what you want to do. That's how you grow the business once you've got something working. So with my training business, we are the Rolls-Royce of our industry. We have the most expensive product in our industry with the highest quality delivery in our industry. And we don't make any apologies for it because the quality of what we deliver is up there. And if somebody says, oh, that's too expensive, okay, we can spread payments, but we're not giving you a discount.
Well,
because that's what we are.
I think it comes down to fit. If you value price more than quality, then that's fine. You can find something cheap, whatever.
But there's reasons why the discount stores exist, and it's scale. Don't compete on price, because if you want to compete on price, there is always somebody with a deeper pocket who will undercut you because they're buying in bigger bulk, because they're building in bigger bulk, because they're building in some sweatshop in India or China or somewhere. Build good product, serve your customers well, great customer service, quality and integrity, and you will do better than pilot high and sell it cheap, at least until you've got scale.
So, I mean, that sounds so nice in theory. And I think that a lot of companies start out with that idea.
Boeing.
But then there are shareholders. And so this is the other thing that I love so much about what you're going to share in this new approach to entrepreneurship. And that is directly why, right? Because all of a sudden the quality of a product gets worse and worse once you have investors involved, right?
And Boeing is a really good example of this. Boeing started out primarily as an outstanding engineering company that built terrific airplanes. You look at the 747, there is nothing in the world like the 747 as a groundbreaking aircraft. The current spate of catastrophe that we're seeing in the Boeing company started when they moved senior management from Seattle, from the spiritual home of Boeing. They moved it to Chicago and said, actually, we need to focus on shareholder value, not on being an excellent engineering company. And that's a finance-led decision. It's a decision made by people whose primary measure of their income is based on share price. If you give a chief executive the job to increase the share price, they're going to make decisions that are relatively short term. What will push the share price higher this year so that my bonus is bigger? And they will tell the manufacturing end of the business to start cutting costs. And as soon as you start cutting costs when you're building aircraft, you start missing bolts and you start losing doors, or you start forgetting to tell pilots that this new system works in a particular way and you start killing people. And I know I may be a little contentious here, but Boeing lost its way when it started focusing on short-term shareholder value rather than on outstanding product. And actually, the complete opposite is true. If you focus on outstanding product, your shareholder value in the medium and long term will be much more valuable. You can pump a value of a business today by announcing a new aircraft and getting a couple of airlines to announce that they're ordering 100 of them or whatever it is. But if you can't build those that keep people safe, your share price tanks, and that's what's happened to Boeing. I'm always focus on the customer first and the shareholder value. And if it's your business, it's your business. I own 100% of my businesses. So the shareholder is me and my family. I don't want investors, because investors start making me make decisions that are based on giving them a short-term return on investment, not my family and me a long-term financial security. And that's a huge difference.
Right. Well, and they're always at the expense of the customer too. And, there's so much to unpack in what you just shared. It really, I've also heard this about investors that you don't get control over what you're doing anymore. And that's not a good time. And at a point, I think you do have a conscience. Not only are the airlines killing people, but they're charging for bags. The spaces are now 1 by 1 foot. Just everything is becoming this absolutely miserable experience. And every airline is copying the other one on a race to the bottom while also cutting costs as much as possible to have the highest shareholder price, to your point. And, would you say that the person that would invest in your approach to entrepreneurship maybe isn't trying to have an empire like Boeing, or can it be that person too?
It could be.
Okay.
Let's take another example. Bill Hewlett and Dave Packard, the two guys that started Hewlett Packard, started in a garage in California, Palo Alto, which is now a heritage site. So if you buy that house, you have to keep the garage in the condition it's in because it's a heritage site. It's the birthplace of Silicon Valley. They started by building a piece of electronic test equipment, and they designed it to meet a specification, to do an excellent job at what it did. They didn't design it to meet a price point. Mm-hmm. They said, let's go design this piece of equipment to meet the customer's need, and then we'll work out how much it costs and what we can sell it for. As a side story, they called it the 200B, the Hewlett Packard 200B, to make it sound like it wasn't their first product. One of their wives used to bake cakes and bring them in to the employees in the garage when they started growing a bit. And that became a tradition that when I worked for it in the early 90s, had 93,000 employees, and on a Wednesday, big trays of cakes and donuts came in at 11 o'clock for everybody and that was a tradition started by Bill Hewlett's wife.
Aww.
So you can start really small and turn into a huge corporation. Now, interestingly, in the late 90s, HP had the test and measurement, the electronics side of their business, which is where they started. They had the computing side of their business, where they were making groundbreaking computers. They had a medical arm and the printers arm. Now, if you go out into the marketplace today and say, what do Hewlett Packard do? Most people will say they make printers. Mm-hmm. And actually, they make printers and they sell printers, often at a loss, because where they make their money now is the ink. And so Hewlett Packard has offloaded its test and measurement business where it started. It's offloaded most of its computing business. Yes, they make laptops, but they're bog standard Windows laptops. There's nothing groundbreaking about them. Because in the late 90s, a chief executive was hired to maximize shareholder value. And they looked at the test and measurement side of the business and said, well, that's not sexy on the stock market. Let's spin that off into another company. Because what shareholders want is computers, not test and measurement equipment. So because test and measurement equipment wasn't sexy, Hewlett-Packard sold its soul. And today, it's a printer company.
How sad.
And I just feel that's really sad.
It is really sad. And I mean, you kind of hear these sort of things maybe when like a great grandson inherits a company and then just completely obliterates it and those kinds of things. But the thing that you mentioned that I think will make the biggest difference for everyone, other than the idea of integrity and alignment, because money's cool, right? Sometimes that outweighs integrity and alignment for people at the end of the day. But you actually make more money without investors. Is that right?
Yes and no. So there are times where you need investment in order to make the next leap. Let's use a really trivial example. You like baking cakes, you open a little cake shop. Very quickly, you stop being the baker and you start being the business owner. So you've lost the joy of it. So now you need to hire some employees, you need to hire an accountant, you need to hire somebody to clean, you need all of these things. So you're managing people, you're not doing the beautiful cake decoration that was your passion. And you think, actually, if I can grow the business a bit more, I can step back from the bits of the job that I don't like, and I can have somebody to run the business, and I can focus back in on the creative stuff and making new cake designs. But then we don't just need the shop, we need a separate kitchen somewhere. And all of a sudden, you're going to need an investor, even if it's just a loan from the bank. That's just a different kind of investor to take on that additional equipment. My hospitality business here, this is what the drive looks like right now. When we need new boilers to do the central heating in this 18th century farmhouse, it's a $50,000 investment. I probably need somebody to stump that cash up, whether it's a loan, whether it's a mortgage, whether it's a private investor. So there are times when, in order to take the business to the next stage, you're going to need external financial help. And that's okay, as long as you understand what you're giving up in order to do that. So if it's a loan, the bank are expecting their interest.
Yes.
And it may be pretty steep interest. If it's a mortgage, the bank are expecting their interest. It'll be less interest, but they hold a charge over your property. So if it all goes belly up, they can walk away with the property and you walk away with nothing. If it's a private investor, they have equity in the business. They have a say over how the business may be run. They have voting rights, perhaps. They don't necessarily get any interest, but they are expecting a return on their investment over time. So how the money comes into the business has different ways of coming back out of the business with more or less control over how you run the business. Because as soon as you have shareholders, they have a say, they have voting rights, they have reasons for encouraging you, I use the word encouraging in air quotes, to make decisions that maybe aren't the ones that you would make in your own personal integrity. Equally, they may have great wisdom. I'm a non-executive director of a friend's business, and I don't have any equity. I get paid for the hours I spend working in her business if I come down and we have a meeting. So I bring an external view to how her business runs, just so that she's got somebody to bounce the ideas off, somebody to say, what do you think of this? We're thinking of doing this. What do you think of that? External advice, external help is always, always, always wise, because you can get so blinkered. You can think it's just the way, as an autistic person, I can get to a situation where I think the only way forward is this way, and I cannot see any alternative, because in my mind, that's the only way forward. And it takes a huge amount of self-control to recognize I may not be right. So what I trialed this last weekend was I invited 6 other business people up here, and I put them up for the weekend. They paid for the drinks, but I put them up for the weekend. And I let them rip me to shreds. Here are the decisions I'm making. Here is what I'm trying to do. This is how I'm doing it. Ask me questions. Stuart, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Why is it set up like that? Why is this person doing that job, that job, that job, that? Do you realize if this person gets hit by a bus, everything is falling? It hurt like hell. There was moments where I could feel the tears, literally, that level of emotion. But at the end of it, I have so much additional wisdom about how I might choose to do things differently. I might choose not to do them differently. But I have not just my own brain that looked at my business for 2 days, but 6 other people's brains that looked at my business for 2 days. Such a powerful thing. The great thing about that particular group is we'll go do it for one of them. We do it in turns. So there is a huge amount of external wisdom to be had. You need to have humility to allow other people to speak into what you're doing, because you could be wrong. And I know I've been wrong. I always used to joke when I was teaching entrepreneurship, I have made and lost more money than most people will earn in a lifetime.
And it's true. So, I mean, the thing that's very clear from you explaining everything is you have a wealth of experience, and that is worth a lot. It shortcuts a lot of the issues that someone has when they're starting a business. It shortcuts a lot of the risk. And you, through these experiences, have found a way to do this where you don't need to remortgage the house or take a huge risk. And if you need to make those investor decisions, you have somebody who can present the different benefits and negatives of those decisions based on what you want to do. I mean, it's undeniably very valuable. And I'm just so excited for this to be a reality for everybody in the very near future. Can you tell us when it's going to launch?
No.
Be available? No. Okay. I can't.
So we have a book that we're working on right now, which I hope will be out in I'm going to say early summer.
Okay.
I was hoping for Easter, but no way. The course, the 1 in a million course, will be available by Easter, and we'll have a link in the show notes to sign up for more information. There is a pre-recorded course, so you can log on, you can watch the videos, you can download the workbooks in your own time at your own speed, with monthly live coaching, sort of a group of us together. So we're building you a mastermind group of the people who are working through the course at the same time as you. And then if you really want one-on-one coaching, obviously there's a cost associated, but we can get you that. And then if you really want to do it boot camp style, and you're willing to come to the United Kingdom, you can come and stay here, and we will spend a week building a business plan, but not a business plan in the traditional sense. That's the whole output of this course is not a traditional business plan that you go and present to investors. I've done that. It's a work of fiction before it's even finished. It doesn't represent reality. What I mean by a business plan is an actionable, executable plan that you can get off and start and go and start doing this step by step. And there's lots of iteration. We're going to go try this. Did it work? Yes, but we learned these lessons. Okay, try again. Come at it differently. Round and round and round. Now we've got the right answer. Okay, move forwards. It's a little bit like playing a game of we call it snakes and ladders in the UK. You roll the dice and you move your counter along, and when you hit a snake, you slide backwards, and when you hit a ladder, you climb up.
Shoots and ladders.
There's always back and forth. There you go. Entrepreneurship is not a linear process. It has to be iterative. There has to be good times. There have to be bad times. and you learn from the bad times. You know, when I lost $26.3 million in a day once, February the 14th, 2009. It sucked, but it's just money. It's just money.
Well, I think
My
that
heart was
probably
still beating. My lungs were still breathing.
that might scare the shit out of everybody. Don't worry, you don't have to do that. But the benefit of this and why I am so passionate about it and very fully endorsing it is that there's accountability tied in. There's don't lose your soul tied in. There's don't lose your mind tied in. And there's don't lose your wallet tied in. And I don't know anywhere else that's offering anything like that in such a black sheep way that's around your budget. What amount are you willing to invest, knowing that it takes an average of this many iterations and this kind of a timeline? And it doesn't exist. And so I hope you guys are going to go check out Stuart since we've reached the end of yet another episode of Sales is Not a Dirty Word. And thank you so much for coming on, Stuart. You have so many amazing stories. This is like the tip of the iceberg, y'all. I'm supposed to have a 15-minute discovery before my podcast recordings. It ended up with an hour with Stuart, and it honestly could have gone two because so such a great example of pursuing life in a way that just fills your cup, which like why else would you live any other way? And he's making it possible for you to do that in a way that's not scary at the same time. So Stuart, where can they find you?
1 in a million.life.
Life,
that
like
simple.
LIFE?
Yep. 1 in a million, ONIINA million.LIFE.
Okay. I hope you guys go check out Stuart. This has been the Sales is Not a Dirty Word podcast, where we show you how to convert up to 80% of your sales meetings without pressure pitching or pretending to be someone else. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time. I noticed I've been saying see you, but I think I should say like, you'll hear me next time. Anyway, next time.